a how, but they went with expectation. They were going to use the spice to anoint his body and stuff. But that shows a love for him. That shows that they worshiped him. That showed that they bowed down to him in reverence and only wanted to honor him. Now that takes some courage, because he was important to them. And they were saying, I don't care what happens. I'm going, because I love him, and I'm going to do this. Because when we love him, when we worship him, when we care about him, we don't care about the opposition that might come. All we're doing is saying, I love you, God, and I'm coming. And guess what? When you say I love you and I'm coming and I don't care about nobody else, guess what? He's already paid the way before you get there. If somebody will read in any comments, come on, y'all. I know I like to talk, but I'm going to give y'all an opportunity.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that they were, the disciples were afraid too. And you said they were hiding. They stayed in their place. And that's when you guard your life, you lose your life. But you let God have it, it's all right. That's but right. Both the women were afraid too, because it says that the angel told the women, do not be afraid. So they were afraid too, but they went. They were, my Lord, that's good right there. Right. Because yes, we're afraid. We're afraid sometimes, and we're fearful sometimes, and we know that our lives are in danger. But when you give your life to Christ, when you give, it's nothing that can stop you, because I'm determined. And these women were determined to go and to do for him. And the disciples were the ones that walked with him. They walked closely with him. And the women were they stood off, looking from a distance, observing things and how things were happening. But when all said and done, they went looking. They went looking because they wanted. They were looking for him, and they wanted to do for him. They wanted, because just like you said, they loved him, and they wanted to do the best for him, do what was right for him. But the disciples, they had to come to that realization. They're looking for us too. They're looking for us. So that fear was there. So we can be fearful, and fear is part of our nature. But we have to trust God in it all, that he's going to save us in the end.
And I like the way you said it, that fear is a natural response. But one thing about fear, you can be fearful, but you don't let it immobilize you. Because we can be walking, and we can be fearful about the situation. We can be fearful about, what we're getting ready to go into. But it should never immobilize us that so that we can't even move. Fear is going to come. But I believe that the thought process of God is always with me, even with my fear, because I know he's with me. I can take another step, because they were fearful, but they love God more. We can be fearful in our situations and stuff, and we can be fearful sometimes when people ask us to do something and it takes us out of our comfort zone. We can be fearful. That thing can cause you to be fearful. But I believe that if you first of all, know that God is leading you. And when you know that he is leading you, have called you to do it, even in your fear, you got to step out. I know that's what happened to me. I was in career, and they asked me to teach. My pastor asked me, what did I do at my church? I said, real boldly, sit on the motherboard. And he just looked at me like really, really strange, because that's what I said, and that's what I was doing. And he just looked at me really, really strange and walked off, didn't say another word. I came home. I was coming home on leave. I was leaving that week. Came home, enjoying myself, sitting over there on the motherboard, comfortable and content, doing nothing but sitting on the motherboard. So we was looking for a pastor at that time, because Bishop Murphy had died. And I remember Pastor McCrimlin was here. I didn't know him. I had never seen him, because it wasn't like we grew up in the church. He was here, and he prophesied some things in my ear. And the stuff that he said, he didn't know me. I didn't know him. All I know, I was leaving the next day and didn't want to, was sad and downtrodden. and the stuff he said, I went back to my church and career. And that very Sunday, they was having a potluck. And I went, and my pastor walked right up to me with the secretary. And he said, put her on, because my husband had been asking me to teach. And I was like, when it's your family, you be like, I ain't teaching. It's basically stop asking me. And he walked right up to me with the secretary and said, put her on the roster. I like to eat. I had no appetite. I left right out of there and went to my room. He said, put her on the roster. She gonna teach Sunday school. And I was thinking, I went home, fasted all week long, couldn't eat. Felt like when he said it, I wish the floor would have just opened up and I fell through. Why did I come to this potluck? Why? And he put me on the roster. And I remember fasting and praying all week long because I was just fearful. I was scared. I just didn't want to step out of my comfort zone. And what gave me assurance, I said, because he has 24 ministers on the roster, 24. And I said, I can't teach like them, because they have some good teachers. I can't teach like them. God, I'm not capable of doing that. And you know what he spoke to my ear? They wouldn't either if it wasn't me doing it. Right then, my fears, I ain't going to say all went away, but I was comforted to know it wasn't them. It was him. When you open up your mouth, use your hands, whatever he's calling you to do. If he's doing the leading, I heard him say they wouldn't be able to either if I didn't give them utterance. That comfort. And so I can understand fear. But anyway, getting back to the lesson, I'm sure they was, because they wasn't living in no peaceful country and under peaceful leadership. They were living under hostile, and women wasn't even allowed. They wasn't even allowed to be in the forefront. They always had to stay in the back. They witness, as a matter of fact, wasn't even counted. They wasn't believable. I'm talking about women because of their culture. So they wasn't even allowed to be in the forefront. That's why I don't listen to people when they say God ain't called women. God calls anybody that's available, and he can use anybody he wants to. If he can use a donkey, he can use a woman. If he can use a man, he can use a woman. He can use anybody he wants to. So get off your high horses, because God is God and not you. So he uses the women to go, when they get there. And when they get there, guess what? The stone already rolled away. Didn't I say that he would make a way? All you got to do is step out. And when you begin to step out, he's already went before you. That's why when you be sitting there and God is telling you to go speak a word or go do this or go do that, he wants you to get up right then and do it, because he's already went before you and paved the way. He's already made it that if he go tell you to witness to somebody, guess what? That if he told you to go, that meant he done already softened their heart for you to go right then. And so they go, and then they find that their angel, the stone is already rolled away, and they all the thing. And I believe that, because God sent an angel to move the stone, he did an earthquake. Don't you know nature itself will declare God's glory? So he used the earthquake, but it was really the angel that had come from heaven, a divine messenger to move the stone. So therefore, no matter what man thinks that they can stop you, there can nobody stop God. So therefore, you can seal the tomb, you can put the guards there, but when God says, I'm going to open it up, it's going to be opened up. Can't nothing stop him. So therefore, the stone had rolled away, and it wasn't rolled away so Jesus can come out, because Jesus can't nothing hold him down. But what the stone was rolled away for, so they can look in to see that he wasn't there. Jesus already left. So the stone is moved. They get to look in, and they don't see Jesus. So, the first thought was, who came and took him away? But there's something mighty sweet, because the angel was sitting there on top of the stone. Don't you know God had put his feet on your obstacle? He'll put it under your feet. So even the stone that's been rolled away, and God's messenger sitting on top of it. Ain't that something good to know? That no matter what you try to seal, no matter what you try to stop, he'll turn it around and put his feet right on top.